In a quiet Seattle hospital, Claire Thompson cradles her newborn son, unaware that a cryptic letter from her estranged mother is about to unravel her world. As she steps into a family celebration, a chilling betrayal threatens to destroy everything she holds dear. Will she find the strength to fight for justice? There is one detail that only the attentive notice. Did you notice? Subscribe. It will help us make content that you will watch. Claire Thompson sat in the soft glow of a Seattle hospital room, her newborn son Noah nestled in her arms. His tiny fingers curled around hers, and for the first time in her 28 years, Claire felt a love so fierce it could shatter mountains. She whispered to him, "You're my world, Noah. I'll keep you safe, always." The morning sun filtered through the blinds, casting delicate patterns on the walls, but a faint unease lingered in her heart. Tomorrow, she would return to her childhood home in Bellevue, a place that held as many shadows as memories. Her phone buzzed, jarring the quiet. The screen read, Eleanor. Claire's mother, Eleanor Brooks, had always been a force, polished, commanding, and perpetually disappointed in her eldest daughter. Claire braced herself and answered. "Hello, Mother." "Claire, everything's set for tomorrow." Eleanor's voice was crisp, like a business transaction. "Your father will pick you up at 9 o'clock sharp. I'm hosting a welcome party for the baby. Don't keep us waiting." "Thank you, Mother," Claire said, her voice steady but tight. "His name is Noah." A pause, cold as winter. "Yes, well, be punctual." The call ended abruptly, leaving Claire staring at the phone. Eleanor hadn't once asked about Noah, nor offered a single warm word since his birth. When Claire had shared the news of her pregnancy, Eleanor's response had been a clipped, "Respectable women wait for marriage." The words still stung, a reminder of the chasm between them. Claire's gaze drifted to a photo on her phone. Her fiancé, Michael, a humanitarian aid worker stationed in South Sudan. His warm smile radiated from the screen. When she'd told him about Noah, he'd called her, voice thick with emotion, promising to return as soon as his mission allowed. "He's perfect, Claire," he'd said. "You're perfect." But his absence at tomorrow's party gnawed at her. She kissed Noah's forehead. "Daddy's coming soon, little one. He's brave, just like you." A nurse entered, her smile kind but professional. "All set for discharge tomorrow? Is the father joining you?" "He's overseas," Claire replied, forcing a smile. "My father's coming instead." "That's sweet," the nurse said. "Grandpa must be over the moon." Claire nodded, but her thoughts drifted to her father, Henry Brooks. A retired literature professor, Henry was gentle, loved by his students for his warmth and wit. But at home, he wilted under Eleanor's iron will. Claire adored him, yet his silence in the face of her mother's barbs often left her hollow. If only he'd stand up to her, she thought, not for the first time. Her mind wandered to her younger sister, Lauren, Eleanor's golden child. At 25, Lauren was a rising star at a Portland law firm, married to a charming tech entrepreneur, Tom. In Eleanor's eyes, Lauren could do no wrong, beautiful, successful, flawless. Claire, a graphic designer with a modest freelance career, had always been the lesser daughter. When Claire announced her pregnancy, Lauren had offered a polished congratulations, but her smile hadn't reached her eyes. Claire later learned Lauren and Tom were struggling with infertility, a secret that cast a shadow over their interactions. Claire didn't resent her sister. She longed to mend their fractured bond, hoping Noah might be the bridge. The next morning, Henry arrived at the hospital, his eyes lighting up as he held Noah. "He's a miracle, Claire," he said, voice thick with emotion. "He's got your eyes." Claire squeezed his hand, grateful for his warmth. In the car, Henry chatted nervously about the party Eleanor was planning. "It'll be wonderful," he said, glancing at Noah in the rearview mirror. "Your mother's gone all out." Claire's stomach knotted. Eleanor's parties were never for joy. They were performances, meticulously staged to showcase her perfection. "Is Lauren coming?" she asked. "Oh, yes," Henry said, his voice tightening. "She and Tom wouldn't miss it." Claire studied her father's profile, sensing his unease. "Dad, be honest. Is this party for Noah, or is it just another show for Mom?" Henry's hands gripped the wheel. "Claire, your mother. She loves you, in her way. Try to see that." His words were hollow, the same excuse she'd heard for years. Claire turned to the window, watching the Puget Sound's gray waters flash by. She felt like a guest in her own life, stepping into a stage play where she didn't know the lines. The Brooks' sprawling Bellevue estate came into view, its manicured lawns and modern glass facade gleaming under the cloudy sky. Claire's pulse quickened. This was the house where she'd grown up, a place of pristine surfaces and unspoken rules. "Here we are," Henry said, forcing cheer. "Let's bring Noah home." Claire cradled her son, whispering, "We'll get through this, Noah." "I'm right here." But as she stepped out of the car, a courier van pulled up. A young man approached, holding an envelope. "Claire Thompson?" he asked. She nodded, puzzled. He handed her a sealed letter, her name scrawled in Eleanor's elegant script. "What's this?" Claire asked, but the courier was already retreating. She tore open the envelope, her eyes scanning the single page. The words hit like a slap. "You've brought shame to this family. Leave Noah with us, or you'll regret it." Her breath caught. The letter wasn't signed, but the handwriting was unmistakable. Eleanor. Claire's hands trembled as she stuffed the note into her pocket, her mind racing. Was this a cruel joke? A test? She glanced at Henry, who was unloading the car, oblivious. The party loomed ahead, a glittering trap waiting to spring. Claire hugged Noah tighter, her resolve hardening. Whatever her mother was planning, she wouldn't let it touch her son. Point of tension. The cryptic letter from Eleanor introduces an immediate threat, planting seeds of doubt about the welcome party's true purpose. Claire's isolation, Michael's absence, Henry's passivity, and Lauren's distance amplifies her vulnerability, setting the stage for a psychological battle. Claire Thompson stood frozen on the manicured lawn of her parents' Bellevue estate, the cryptic letter from her mother, Eleanor, burning a hole in her pocket. The words, "Leave Noah with us, or you'll regret it," echoed in her mind, each syllable a shard of ice. She glanced at her newborn son, Noah, sleeping peacefully in her arms, his tiny chest rising and falling. The grand glass facade of the Brooks family home loomed before her, its sleek modernity masking decades of unspoken grudges. Claire's pulse raced. This wasn't just a party, it was a battlefield. Inside, the house buzzed with Eleanor's meticulous preparations. Claire stepped into the foyer where vases of white lilies perfumed the air and soft jazz drifted from hidden speakers. Eleanor's voice cut through the hum, directing caterers with military precision. "No! The napkins are ivory, not cream. Fix it!" Claire's stomach churned. Her mother's perfectionism wasn't about celebration. It was control, a stage for her to shine while others dimmed. Henry, her father, lingered nearby, adjusting his glasses nervously. "Claire, you should rest before the guests arrive," he said, his smile strained. "It's going to be a big day." Claire nodded, but her eyes darted to the letter tucked away. "Dad, did Mom mention anything unusual about the party?" she asked, keeping her voice low. Henry frowned, puzzled. "Unusual? No, just the usual planning." "Why?" She hesitated, the letter's threat too raw to share without proof. "Nothing, just nerves." But her unease deepened. Henry's gentle nature had always been her anchor, yet his blindness to Eleanor's manipulations left her exposed. She carried Noah upstairs to her old bedroom, now a guest suite, its pastel walls a stark contrast to the storm brewing within her. As she settled Noah into a borrowed crib, her phone pinged, a text from her sister, Lauren. "Can't wait to meet Noah. Tom and I will be there soon. Congrats, sis." The words seemed warm, but Claire sensed a hollowness, a formality that didn't match the sisterly bond she craved. Lauren's struggle with infertility was no secret, and Claire wondered if Noah's arrival had widened the rift between them. She typed a quick reply, "Thanks. See you soon." But her fingers lingered over the screen, torn between hope and suspicion. The party began at noon, a parade of Eleanor's socialite friends and distant relatives filling the backyard. Claire sat on a cushioned patio chair, Noah cradled against her, his soft gurgles grounding her amidst the chatter. Guests cooed over him, their smiles polite but laced with judgment. "Such a darling boy," one aunt said, her eyes flicking to Claire's bare ring finger. "And the father, he's abroad, yes?" Claire forced a nod, her cheeks burning. Eleanor's world thrived on appearances, and Claire, an unmarried mother, was a blemish on her mother's flawless canvas. Eleanor glided through the crowd, her tailored emerald dress catching the sunlight. "Claire, you look pale," she said, her smile sharp as a blade. "Let me hold Noah. You should mingle." Claire's grip tightened instinctively. The letter's warning flashed in her mind. "He's comfortable here, Mom," she said, her voice firm but polite. Eleanor's eyes narrowed, a flicker of irritation breaking her composure, but she recovered quickly, turning to charm a nearby guest. Claire's heart pounded. Was her mother testing her, or was something darker at play? Lauren and Tom arrived, a vision of success in designer attire. Lauren's blonde hair gleamed, her smile practiced, but her eyes avoided Noah. "Claire, you're glowing," she said, air-kissing her sister's cheek. Tom offered a handshake, his tech bro charm dialed to 11. "Congrats on the little guy. Big day, huh?" "Yeah, big day," Claire echoed, searching Lauren's face for warmth. She found none, only a brittle edge that mirrored Eleanor's. As Lauren drifted to join their mother, Claire overheard a guest whisper, "Eleanor says Lauren should have been the first to have a child. It's only proper." The words landed like a punch. Was this the root of the letter's threat? A twisted family hierarchy? The afternoon wore on, and Claire's unease grew. Eleanor insisted on a family tradition Claire had never heard of, a candle-lighting ceremony to bless Noah. "It's what our ancestors did," Eleanor announced to the guests, her voice dripping with authority. "Fire purifies, welcomes new life." Claire's skin prickled. "Mom, I don't remember this tradition," she said quietly, clutching Noah. Eleanor's smile didn't waver, but her eyes were steel. "You were young, Claire. Trust me." Henry, standing nearby, looked confused but said nothing, his silence a familiar betrayal. The guests murmured excitedly, drawn to Eleanor's charisma, unaware of the tension coiling beneath. As dusk settled, the backyard transformed. A small fire pit glowed at the center, surrounded by flickering candles. Guests gathered, their faces illuminated by the warm light. Claire stood at the edge, Noah in her arms, her senses on high alert. Eleanor approached, holding a lit candle. "Give me Noah," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. "It's time." Claire's heart thundered. The letter's threat, the strange tradition, Eleanor's insistence, it all converged into a single terrifying certainty. Her mother meant harm. "No," Claire said, stepping back. "I'm not comfortable with this." The crowd hushed. Eleanor's face tightened, her voice low and venomous. "Don't embarrass me, Claire. Hand him over." Before Claire could respond, Lauren stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Mom's right, Claire. It's just a ceremony. Don't make a scene." But her words carried a strange undertone, as if she were reciting a script. Claire's eyes darted to Henry, pleading for support, but he looked away, wringing his hands. Then a new voice cut through the tension. "What's going on here?" It was Michael, Claire's fiancé, standing at the edge of the crowd, his travel-worn jacket dusted with rain. He wasn't due back for weeks, yet there he was, his presence like a lifeline. Claire's knees nearly buckled with relief. "Michael," she gasped, rushing to him, "you're here." "I got an earlier flight," he said, his eyes locking on to Eleanor. "And I'm glad I did. Claire, what's wrong?" She pulled him aside, her voice trembling as she showed him the letter. Michael's jaw clenched as he read it. "This stops now," he said, turning to face Eleanor. "What's the meaning of this?" Eleanor's composure faltered, her candle flickering in the breeze. "It's a misunderstanding," she said, her voice smooth but strained. "Just a family tradition." "There's no tradition," Claire said, her voice rising, emboldened by Michael's presence. "You wrote that letter. You threatened my son." Gasps rippled through the guests. Lauren's face paled, and for the first time Claire saw a crack in her sister's facade. Fear, or perhaps guilt. Eleanor opened her mouth to protest, but Michael stepped forward, his voice calm but unyielding. "We're leaving. Claire, Noah, let's go." As they turned to leave, Lauren grabbed Claire's arm. "Wait," she whispered, her voice urgent. "There's something you need to know. It's not just Mom." Her eyes darted to the fire pit, then back to Claire, a silent plea for trust. Claire froze, torn between fleeing and uncovering the truth. What did Lauren know? And could she trust her sister, Or was this another trap? Point of tension. Eleanor's insistence on the suspicious tradition and the letter's overt threat escalate the psychological stakes, while Michael's unexpected arrival shifts the power dynamic. Lauren's cryptic warning introduces a new layer of intrigue, leaving Claire and the audience questioning her sister's role in the unfolding betrayal. Claire Thompson stood in the flickering glow of the backyard fire pit, her newborn son, Noah, cradled tightly against her chest. The Bellevue Estate's pristine lawn felt like a stage, the gathered guests unwitting spectators to a drama unraveling before them. Her mother, Eleanor Brooks, stood rigid, the candle in her hand trembling as Claire's accusation hung in the air. "You threatened my son." Michael, Claire's fiancé, flanked her, his unexpected arrival a shield against the suffocating tension. But it was her sister Lauren's whispered words, "It's not just Mom," that sent a jolt of dread through her, rooting her to the spot. The crowd murmured, their polite smiles replaced by uneasy glances. Eleanor recovered her composure, her voice smooth as silk. "Claire, you're overwrought," she said, stepping closer, the candle's flame casting sharp shadows across her face. "This is a celebration. Let's not ruin it with hysterics." "Hysterics?" Claire's voice shook with fury, emboldened by Michael's presence. She pulled the letter from her pocket, holding it up for all to see. "You wrote this. You told me to leave Noah with you, or I'd regret it. Explain that." Gasps rippled through the guests. Henry, Claire's father, stepped forward, his face pale. "Eleanor, what is this?" he asked, his voice cracking. For once, he wasn't retreating into silence, and Claire clung to that small spark of courage. Eleanor's eyes darted to the letter, then back to Claire. "A misunderstanding," she said, her tone clipped. "I wrote no such thing. Perhaps you're confused, dear. Motherhood can be overwhelming." Her words were a calculated jab, painting Claire as unstable, but the crowd's murmurs grew skeptical. Michael's hand rested on Claire's shoulder, steadying her. "Enough games," he said, his voice low but firm. "If this is a misunderstanding, let's call the police. They can verify the handwriting." Eleanor's smile faltered, a crack in her polished facade. Before she could respond, Lauren stepped into the circle of firelight, her face a mask of conflict. "Stop it, Mom," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "She deserves to know." "Know what?" Claire demanded, her heart pounding. Lauren's eyes flickered with something, guilt, fear, or both. The sister Claire had once idolized now seemed a stranger, her allegiance unclear. Lauren glanced at Eleanor, then back to Claire. "It's about the family trust," she said, her words rushed. "Mom's been planning to rewrite it. She wanted Noah under her control to secure the inheritance for her side of the family, not you." The revelation hit Claire like a physical blow. The Brooks Family Trust, a multi-million-dollar fund from Eleanor's parents, had always been a distant concept, its details shrouded in secrecy. Claire had never cared about the money, but the idea that her mother would use Noah as a pawn in a financial scheme was unthinkable. "You're lying," she whispered, though the pieces were falling into place. The letter, the strange ceremony, Eleanor's obsession with control. "I'm not," Lauren said, her voice breaking. "I didn't want to be part of it, Claire, but Mom, she convinced me it was for the family's legacy. I thought I could fix it later." Her husband, Tom, stood behind her, his face unreadable, but Claire noticed his hand tighten on Lauren's arm, a subtle warning. Eleanor's laugh was sharp, cutting through the tension. "Lauren, don't be dramatic. This is nonsense. There's no plot, no scheme. Claire's always been paranoid." But her voice wavered, and the guests' whispers grew louder, sensing the unraveling of a carefully curated lie. Henry's face darkened, a rare anger surfacing. "Eleanor, is this true?" he asked, stepping closer to his wife. "Did you plan to manipulate our grandson's future for money?" Eleanor's eyes flashed with defiance. "Everything I've done is for this family's survival," she snapped. "Claire's reckless choices, having a child out of wedlock, chasing her little art dreams, threaten our legacy. Someone had to protect it." Claire's blood ran cold. Her mother's words weren't just a defense. They were a confession, laced with contempt. She clutched Noah tighter, his warmth anchoring her against the betrayal. "You don't get to decide Noah's future," she said, her voice steady despite the storm within. "He's my son, not your chess piece." Michael turned to the guests, his voice calm but commanding. I think it's time everyone leaves. This is a family matter. The crowd dispersed reluctantly, their whispers trailing into the night. Claire's eyes locked onto Lauren, searching for truth in her sister's conflicted expression. Was Lauren a victim of Eleanor's manipulation, or a willing accomplice? As the guests retreated, Eleanor grabbed Lauren's wrist. "You've ruined everything," she hissed. "After all I've done for you." Lauren yanked her arm free, her face crumpling. For the first time, Claire saw her sister as more than Eleanor's shadow, a woman trapped by loyalty, now teetering on the edge of rebellion. Michael guided Claire toward the house, but she paused, glancing at the fire pit. The flames had dwindled, but their glow illuminated a small object half buried in the grass, a flash drive, its metallic surface glinting. Claire's breath caught. Had someone dropped it during the chaos? She bent to pick it up, slipping it into her pocket before anyone noticed. Her instincts screamed that it held answers, perhaps proof of Eleanor's scheme. Inside, the house felt claustrophobic, its elegance a mockery of the ugliness exposed. Claire sat in the living room, Noah asleep in her arms, while Michael and Henry spoke in hushed tones. "We need to act fast," Michael said. "If Eleanor's rewriting the trust, there could be legal documents already in motion." Henry nodded, his face etched with regret. "I should have seen this," he said. "All these years, I let her control everything. Our family, our daughters. I failed you, Claire." Claire reached for his hand, her anger softened by his vulnerability. "You're here now, Dad. That's what matters." But her thoughts were on the flash drive, its weight heavy in her pocket. She needed to know what it contained, but opening it here under Eleanor's roof felt too risky. Lauren entered, her eyes red-rimmed. "Claire, I'm sorry," she said, her voice raw. "I didn't know how far Mom would go. She said it was about tradition, about keeping the family strong. I believed her. Until tonight." Claire studied her sister, torn between compassion and distrust. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked. "You knew she was targeting Noah?" Lauren's gaze dropped. "I was afraid. Mom's always controlled me, my career, my marriage, everything. I thought if I went along, I'd finally be enough for her." She paused, her voice barely audible. "But when I saw her with Noah, when she pushed for that ceremony, I knew it was wrong." Michael crossed his arms. "If you're serious, Lauren, you'll help us prove it. Do you have evidence, documents, emails, anything?" Lauren hesitated, then nodded. "There's a file in Mom's office. She keeps it locked, but I know where the key is. It has emails between her and the trust's lawyer. I can get it." Claire's heart raced. This was a chance to expose Eleanor's scheme, but it meant trusting Lauren, whose loyalty had wavered. The flash drive in her pocket felt like a backup plan, a secret weapon if Lauren's offer was a trap. "Okay," Claire said finally, "but we do this together. No surprises." As they planned to retrieve the file, a sharp knock echoed through the house. Claire froze, her instincts flaring. Michael opened the door to reveal a man in a suit, his expression grim. "Claire Thompson?" he asked, holding up a legal envelope. "You've been served." Claire's hands trembled as she took the envelope, her eyes scanning the document inside. It was a petition from Eleanor, claiming Claire was an unfit mother and seeking custody of Noah. The world tilted beneath her, the betrayal now a legal weapon aimed at her heart. Point of tension. Lauren's revelation about the family trust exposes Eleanor's financial motives, while the flash drive introduces a mysterious clue that could hold critical evidence. The custody petition escalates the stakes, turning Eleanor's manipulation into a direct legal threat, forcing Claire to decide whether to trust Lauren and fight back within the law. Claire Thompson clutched the legal envelope, its words searing her mind. Eleanor Brooks was seeking custody of Noah, branding Claire an unfit mother. The Bellevue estate's opulent living room felt like a cage, its polished surfaces mocking the chaos threatening to engulf her. Noah slept in her arms, oblivious to the storm, his soft breaths a fragile anchor. Michael stood beside her, his face taut with anger, while her father, Henry, stared at the floor, guilt etched into his features. Lauren, her sister, hovered nearby, her earlier confession about Eleanor's trust fund scheme hanging heavy between them. The flash drive Claire had found by the fire pit burned in her pocket, a potential key to unraveling her mother's plans. The man who'd served the papers lingered at the door, his expression neutral. "You have 30 days to respond," he said before leaving. The door's click echoed like a gavel, sealing Claire's resolve. She wouldn't let Eleanor take her son. Not now, not ever. Michael's hand found hers, grounding her. "We'll fight this," he said, his voice steady despite the fury in his eyes. "She's not getting Noah. We need a lawyer, fast." Claire nodded, her mind racing. The custody petition was no impulsive act. It was Eleanor's endgame, a calculated move to control Noah and the family trust. The letter, the fake tradition, the ceremony, it all pointed to a plan far deeper than Claire had imagined. But the flash drive, and Lauren's offer to retrieve evidence from Eleanor's office, gave her a sliver of hope. The question was whether she could trust her sister. Henry finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "Claire, I had no idea she'd go this far. I should have stopped her years ago." His eyes, usually soft with resignation, burned with a newfound fire. "I'm with you now, whatever it takes." Claire squeezed his hand, grateful but wary. Henry's awakening was a gift, but decades of passivity couldn't be undone in a night. "Thank you, Dad," she said. "But we need to move quickly. Mom's already ahead of us." Lauren stepped forward, her face pale but determined. "The file in Mom's office? It's real. I've seen it. Emails, drafts of the trust revision, even notes about the custody claim. If we get it, you'll have proof she's been planning this for months." Claire studied her sister, torn between hope and suspicion. Lauren's betrayal, her complicity in Eleanor's scheme, stung, but her remorse seemed genuine. "Why help now?" Claire asked, her voice sharp. "You went along with her. What changed?" Lauren's eyes glistened. "I thought I was protecting the family, protecting myself. Mom made it sound noble, like we were preserving a legacy. But when I saw her tonight, the way she looked at Noah, I realized she doesn't care about family, only control." She paused, her voice breaking. "I've been her puppet my whole life, Claire. I want to be free." Michael crossed his arms. "Words aren't enough, Lauren. If you're serious, get us that file. Tonight." Lauren nodded. "I know where she keeps the key, but we have to be careful. Mom's probably watching us." Claire's thoughts flicked to the flash drive. She hadn't told anyone about it, not even Michael. Its contents were a mystery, but her instincts screamed it was critical. "Okay," she said. "We'll go to the office together, but if this is a trick, Lauren, I'm done." The house was quiet, the guests long gone, but Eleanor's presence lingered like a specter. Claire handed Noah to Michael, who promised to stay vigilant. "I'll keep him safe," he said, kissing her forehead. "Go get what you need." Claire, Lauren, and Henry crept upstairs to Eleanor's private office, a sanctum of dark wood and locked drawers. Lauren knelt by a decorative vase, retrieving a small key hidden beneath it. "She thinks no one knows," she whispered, unlocking the door. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of leather and ink. A sleek desk dominated the room, its surface bare except for a single photo. Eleanor and Lauren at a gala, smiling like royalty. Claire's absence from the frame was a silent wound. Lauren pointed to a locked filing cabinet. "The file's in there." She hesitated, then handed Claire the key. "You open it. I want you to trust me." Claire's fingers trembled as she unlocked the cabinet. Inside, a folder labeled Trust Amendment sat atop a stack of papers. She pulled it out, her heart pounding as she scanned the contents. Emails between Eleanor and a lawyer detailing plans to redirect the trust to Noah's guardianship under Eleanor's control. There were notes about Claire's instability, fabricated claims of neglect, and a timeline for the custody filing. It was all there, a blueprint of betrayal. "She was going to frame me," Claire whispered, rage and disbelief colliding. "She planned to take Noah from the start." Henry's face crumpled. "My God, Eleanor." He trailed off, his voice thick with shame. Lauren's eyes were wet. "I'm so sorry, Claire. I didn't know the full scope until recently. I thought it was just about the money." Claire's anger flared. "You still helped her. You let her manipulate you." But as she spoke, she saw Lauren's hunched shoulders, the weight of years under Eleanor's thumb. Her sister wasn't the enemy. She was a casualty, just like Claire. Before they could process further, footsteps echoed in the hall. Claire shoved the folder into her bag, her pulse spiking. The door swung open, and Eleanor stood there, her emerald dress slightly disheveled, her eyes blazing. "What are you doing in my office?" she demanded, her voice a low growl. Claire stepped forward, the folder hidden behind her. "Looking for the truth," she said, her voice steady. "And we found it." Eleanor's gaze flicked to Lauren, venomous. "You traitor!" she spat. "After everything I've given you." Lauren shrank but held her ground. "You used me, Mom. You used all of us." Eleanor's lips curled into a cold smile. "You think you've won? That custody petition is airtight. No judge will side with an unfit mother who breaks into private offices." She turned to Henry. "And you, finally growing a spine? Too late." Henry's voice was quiet but firm. "No, Eleanor, it's not too late. I'm done letting you hurt our daughters." Claire's heart swelled at her father's defiance, but Eleanor's confidence unnerved her. Did she have another card to play? Claire's hand brushed the flash drive in her pocket. Whatever it held, it might be their only chance to counter Eleanor's legal assault. But they needed to escape this confrontation first. Michael's voice called from downstairs. "Claire, everything okay?" His timing was a lifeline. Claire seized the moment, pushing past Eleanor with Lauren and Henry in tow. "We're leaving," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "This isn't over." Eleanor didn't follow, but her laughter echoed behind them, chilling Claire to the bone. "Run all you want, Claire," she called. "You can't escape what's coming." Downstairs, Claire reunited with Michael and Noah, her resolve hardening. The folder was evidence, but the flash drive was an unknown. They needed a safe place to regroup and a lawyer to dismantle Eleanor's custody claim. As they stepped into the night, Claire glanced back at the estate, its lights glowing like eyes. Eleanor's reach was long, but Claire was no longer the overlooked daughter. She was a mother, and she'd fight with everything she had. At a nearby hotel, Claire plugged the flash drive into Michael's laptop. Her breath held. The screen lit up with a single folder. Brooke's Legacy. Inside were audio files, recordings of Eleanor's conversations with her lawyer, admitting to fabricating Claire's instability and planning to seize Noah for the trust. One clip captured Eleanor's voice, cold and calculating. "Claire's too weak to fight. Once we have the boy, the trust is ours." Claire's blood ran cold, but triumph surged within her. This was the weapon they needed, undeniable proof of Eleanor's malice. But as the final audio played, a new voice emerged. Tom, Lauren's husband, discussing a payment to keep things quiet. Claire's eyes widened, meeting Lauren's horrified stare. Was Tom part of the scheme too? Point of tension. The discovery of the trust folder confirms Eleanor's betrayal, but the flash drive's audio files escalate the stakes, providing concrete evidence and revealing Tom's potential involvement. Eleanor's confrontation and the custody petition tighten the legal noose, pushing Claire to rely on shaky alliances with Lauren and Henry, while questioning who else might be conspiring against her. Claire Thompson sat in a dimly lit hotel room, the glow of Michael's laptop casting shadows across her face. Noah slept in a portable crib, his soft breaths a quiet counterpoint to the storm raging within her. The flash drive's audio files, damning recordings of her mother, Eleanor Brooks, plotting to seize Noah and the family trust, had exposed the depths of her betrayal. But the final clip, implicating Lauren's husband, Tom, in the scheme, was a fresh wound. Claire's eyes met Lauren's, her sister's face pale with shock. The fight for justice was far from over, and the clock was ticking. Michael paced, his voice tight. "These recordings are gold, Claire." Eleanor's done. Her own words bury her. But Tom. "We need to know how deep he's in." He glanced at Lauren, who sat rigid, clutching her phone. "Lauren, did you know?" "No," Lauren whispered, her voice cracking. "I swear I didn't. Tom's been distant, but I thought it was work stress, not this." Her eyes welled up, but Claire saw resolve beneath the tears. "I'll confront him. Whatever he's done, I'm not protecting him." Claire's heart twisted. Lauren's betrayal had hurt, but her sister's willingness to face the truth offered a glimmer of redemption. Still, trust was fragile. "We can't wait," Claire said. "The custody petition gives us 30 days, but Eleanor's already moving. We need a lawyer now." Henry, seated quietly, spoke up, his voice steady. "I know someone. Rachel Carter, a former student. She's a family law expert in Seattle, tough as nails." I'll call her tonight." His newfound strength warmed Claire, a stark contrast to the passive father she'd known. By morning, Rachel Carter arrived, her sharp eyes scanning the hotel room. Claire handed over the folder from Eleanor's office and the flash drive, detailing the letter, the fake tradition, and the custody claim. Rachel listened intently, her expression grim but focused. "This is a slam dunk," she said, tapping the flash drive. "Eleanor's recordings violate multiple laws: fraud, coercion, even attempted child endangerment. The custody petition's baseless, built on lies we can disprove. As for Tom, we'll dig into his role, but these files give us leverage." Claire exhaled, relief mingling with dread. "What about Lauren? She was involved." Rachel glanced at Lauren, who sat with her head bowed. "If Lauren testifies against Eleanor and cooperates fully, I can argue for leniency. Her evidence, those office files, strengthens our case, but she'll need to come clean. No holding back." Lauren nodded, her voice small but firm. "I'll do it. I want to make this right." The next week was a blur of legal preparations. Rachel filed a counterclaim, seeking to dismiss Eleanor's custody petition and requesting a restraining order. The flash drive's recordings were authenticated, their contents sent to the police, triggering an investigation into Eleanor's actions. Claire and Michael moved into a small apartment, a temporary haven where Noah's laughter filled the silence. Henry visited daily, his guilt transforming into fierce protectiveness. "I've wasted years," he told Claire, cradling Noah. "I won't waste another day." Lauren, meanwhile, confronted Tom. In a tearful call to Claire, she revealed the truth. Tom had been bribed by Eleanor to monitor Claire's movements, feeding her mother information to bolster the unfit mother narrative. The payment mentioned in the recording was his reward. Devastated, Lauren filed for divorce and turned over Tom's emails to Rachel, further implicating him in the scheme. "I was blind," Lauren admitted, "but I'm not anymore." The preliminary hearing arrived, a cold Seattle morning that felt like Judgment Day. Claire entered the courtroom, Michael and Henry at her sides, Noah safe with a trusted friend. Eleanor sat across the room, her elegance diminished in a plain suit, her eyes avoiding Claire's. Tom was absent, already facing charges for conspiracy. Lauren, pale but composed, took her place beside Claire, ready to testify. Rachel presented the evidence with surgical precision: the recordings, the trust folder, Lauren's testimony, and Tom's emails. Eleanor's lawyer scrambled, claiming the files were doctored, but the audio's authenticity was undeniable. Lauren's voice trembled as she recounted Eleanor's manipulation, her years of control, and the plot to use Noah. "I was wrong," she said, tears streaming. "I betrayed my sister, but I'm here to fix it." Claire took the stand, her voice steady as she described the letter, the ceremony, and Eleanor's relentless campaign to undermine her. "I'm not perfect," she said, meeting the judge's eyes, "but I'm Noah's mother. I'll protect him with everything I am." The courtroom was silent, the weight of her words palpable. Eleanor's defense crumbled. She claimed the recordings were taken out of context, that her actions were for the family, but the judge's expression hardened. The custody petition was dismissed, and Eleanor was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation, her actions deemed a threat to Noah's safety. Charges for fraud and endangerment were pending, with Tom facing similar consequences. Lauren received probation and mandatory counseling in exchange for her cooperation, a chance to rebuild. 6 months later, Claire stood in her new Seattle home, sunlight streaming through the windows. Noah, now crawling, giggled as Michael chased him across the rug. Their wedding was weeks away, a quiet ceremony planned by the water. Henry, now a regular visitor, had started writing a memoir about breaking free from silence, dedicating it to his daughters. "You gave me courage, Claire," he said, his smile warm. Lauren was finding her own path, free from Eleanor's shadow. She'd enrolled in therapy and joined a nonprofit aiding families in crisis, a small step toward atonement. One afternoon, Claire invited her over, watching as Lauren hesitated before holding Noah. "I don't deserve this," Lauren said, her voice thick. Claire touched her sister's shoulder. "You're trying. That's enough for now." The sisters shared a quiet moment, the first real connection in years. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start.